And now, broadcasting from the Ginger and Baker studio in the heart of the Music District, it's Live at Lunch on KRFC 88.9 FM. We are airing on 88.9 on your FM dial and streaming online at krfcfm.org with live video stream on Facebook.
Hi, I'm Danny LaRue. Live at Lunch is produced by KRFC 88.9 FM in the Ginger and Baker studio. It's supported by the Music District, a music-centric gathering place to cultivate talents, support professional development, and encourage connections. Today's video is made possible by Fort Collins Public Media. I'm very excited to introduce TMULE.
Everyone was standing in the dark. No one could tell the time from the clock, and words of reason came unfurled. And as a girl you said to me, it's time to rule the world. The universe is much more dear to me. Drunk on moonbeams, come what may. 'Cause everybody knows you can't stand on one leg all day. We can't bring our water to the sun, walking naked through the airport with a gun. And if we can't find our lives on Mars, cast your eyes up to the skies, 'cause there's billions of stars, and they're Frankie's got his arms tied up in knots, and one eye looks away, and the other gives the shot. And a man in mist lies listless on the floor. His hands are in the room, but his feet are out the door. And someone crawled out from under my bed, walked across the room, and this is what he said: before you give yourself all up to love, drop some crumbs around your feet, 'cause you'll be lonely, lost, and starved. We can't bring our water to the sun. In fact, we can't bring anyone. And if we can't find a life on Mars, cast your eyes up to the skies, 'cause there's billions of stars,
TMULE on KRFC 88.9 FM. Wow.
Hi, Denny.
I will say for those watching and listening that TMULE, also known as Sean Lamborn,
Yeah.
because you do have another persona as well as your music persona, but we'll
Yes.
get into that later. TMULE is what you go by. Fort Collins based right now. I have a lot of things to talk about, but I'm so stuck in my head on your writing because you are such a writer. Have you been writing forever?
I guess I started writing songs probably in about 7th grade, 1993-ish, is when I really I had a friend that we used to write just ridiculous poems and stuff. And then, I don't know, there was something about, I think, the accessibility of when Pearl Jam came out to me. I was, started, which is kind of funny, given the current Eddie Vedder, Motley Crue thing. But, before that, it was kind of Motley Crue, and I didn't even understand what most of the lyrics were and stuff like that, or what they were talking about. Now I do.
Yeah.
And then, Pearl Jam came out, and it's like the music was accessible to somebody younger than in their 20s, talking, about girls and stuff. And so, kind of, brought it home to the teen angsty kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was accessible, and I was like, oh, I can write a song. And I think I'd done some stuff before that, but I think that really brought in the fact that songs don't have to be about these specific things or... so I guess 1993 I started writing a lot more, poorly at first, of course. But
well, and once you start doing it, it becomes a process, your own process for you.
It's still a process.
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to make it happen. I don't know how it happens, but I know I put a lot of effort into it, whatever I'm doing.
Speaking of that, let's go. That was Lost, Lonely, and Starved. Let's go on to another song, and then we'll talk some more. Landlines is next, right?
Yes, the song's called Landlines. These walls are full of landlines, ghosts of a past time. Copper wire on these walls and floors of mine, and I've been tracing it all, and I've been tracing your calls. I'm all in, and climbing down in the crawl spaces, worrying wires, and I'm all on these walls and floors of mine, ghosts of a past time, landlines,
Landlines.
Landlines, yep.
Yeah. I just saw something the other day about how cool it was to have a landline if you've never had one.
Yeah, I mean, it's retro now.
Exactly.
That song is kind of I wrote it a while back for The Longest Day of the Year. It never made it on an album. It was a last-minute song that I wrote, and I liked it. And brought it to the band. They're like, yeah, that's great, but it didn't really fit with the vibe of, I think it was our first album, it must have been. So 2011 or so, we're working on that.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So you're Fort Collins based as TMULE, and you're singer-songwriter, alt-folk, alt-country, alt-rock. Yeah. You do a variety of genres within your shows. You've gone more to some electric and pedal and all of that recently.
Yes.
Kind of an addition. You threw out The Longest Day of the Year a second ago, and that was a band you were with, alt-country band in 2017 for a bunch of years, right?
Yeah, we were, let's see.
Beautiful
we
song.
Started kind of in 2008, I think. And we had some member changeover. We're still together. We still play. Before COVID, we were playing 3 or 4 times a year, like 9 to 12 shows, somewhere in there. Everybody kind of moved all over the country, and now everybody else is having kids. I've already got my 9-year-old. Now they have newborns and like 1-year-olds. And so hopefully this year we'll be able to play more and get some shows in. But we've tried to do things over the internet, but we're all crazy busy, so we haven't written anything or put anything new together in a while, but hopefully soon.
That music is online, so people can, it's on YouTube, it's everywhere.
And
so
The Longest Day of the Year is on.
It's beautiful.
On all the streaming services and everything. So.
Yeah. And so also, before we go back to music, I want to ask you, so you've been doing mostly solo now, but you do work with other people.
I do every once in a while. For the most part, it's been solo just because it's easier.
Yeah,
especially just grabbing a little bar gig somewhere. Playing at the Forge a lot, which is a lot of fun. And I've been trying to work with the Forge. I had a whole year lined up, and then COVID hit and everything closed down. But just not a songwriter in the round exactly, but just me and one other person hanging out at the Forge and playing 2 30-minute sets each, so 2 hours of music.
Were you with Ryan Dart down there?
Yeah, we did. Ryan and I played. Did Ben Hanna was actually my last show at the Forge was the night of like the world closing down, which was crazy. And I played with Ben Hanna then, and we did like our first shows back in the world at the Forge too, and a handful of other people, and we're gonna do Fox Feather
in April.
It'll be at Magic Rat instead, but.
We'll get to that.
But yeah.
So let's hear a couple tunes.
All right, sweet.
Okay.
Oh, Dad. Oh, Dad. Won't you spare me over for another year? Once a light through dark night, the blessing is the curse. The ground keeps shifting, anti-friction, feel tomorrow's worse. We made a way, cradle to grave, the race is never won. I'll tell you, time will tear the heart from a rabbit on the run. And rats of routes go in and out somewhere under the stairs. And cats alike through crevice tight, but I can't fit through there. While away in dirt and clay, in a box of gilded birch, right look and right away might show me what is left. Way beyond the evening's gone might mean certain death. Rats of routes go in and out somewhere under the stairs. Cats are like through crevice tight, but I can't fit through there. While away in dirt and clay in a box of gilded birch, riding high for all the lines, the future's lying in the lurch. While away in dirt and clay in a box of gilded birch, riding high for all the lines, future's lying in the lurch. Rats and routes go in and out somewhere under the stairs. Cats are like through crevice tight, but I can't fit through there. While away in dirt and clay in a box of gilded birch, riding high for all the lives, the future's lying in the lurch. While away in dirt and clay in a box of gilded birch, riding high for all the lives, the future's lying. Ground keeps shifting, anti-friction. Ground keeps shifting, anti-friction. Ground keeps shifting, anti-friction. Ground keeps shifting, anti-friction.
The Lurch.
Yep.
Wow. That takes me a little bit to the pandemic.
Yeah. It's kind of like my one pandemic song. I tried not to write about it too much.
Wow.
It
Well-
wasn't the worst time of my life, so.
No, and I wanted to chat about that for just a second because it is an important time for a ton of musicians. And as you said earlier, you're going to be on stage on the bill, Fox Feather, TMULE, Magic Rat, April 15th. It's a Friday night, downtown Fort Collins. That is a sign of hope.
Yeah, it's good.
So
I was, poked around, did some shows last summer outside, and then took some time off again in the in the winter and late fall, and then started booking shows again.
You've done a little
and
Aggie
did a
stuff
few.
and lyric and
I've done a few, and then I canceled. The last one was the week that the number spiked
again.
So we stayed out. That was, I think, initially was Fox Feather. We canceled that one in late January.
Rescheduled.
And then I rescheduled some stuff for the Forge, and I still don't have it rescheduled. I'm just getting back to it.
It's all getting back, hopefully.
That'll be good.
So during the pandemic, for a lot of musicians, it gave you a little extra time, but it took away the audiences. So you didn't have that part of the feedback. And also, you're a dad, and you're part of a twosome working parent group. So you had your son at home, as you said, and you and Arlo do some music together too. So talk a little bit about the pandemic for you as a musician and parent.
I feel like I had time sometimes to work on things. It was pretty busy. Last year was extremely busy because I was my wife Sarah and I were also teaching Arlo during the day while also working full-time.
Oh, and I should say that your full-time job is at KRFC as the volunteer/program director, so you're doing a lot of online stuff.
It was kind of crazy. It was a crazy year, as you know. Just we have an amazing number of fantastic volunteers just straight across the board at KRFC. So people like you, Denny, and Steve, and everybody, get together and make this thing happen. And it was difficult. We had to teach a lot of people to do it from home for a little while, and then work people back into the station, because there are 70 DJs a week, so and the station gets really crowded really quickly. And so it's been an experience. So haven't gotten a ton of time to play and write, but the writing I just do constantly,
all the time.
Back of my head, a lot of walking, running. Almost every day, and then walking the dog every night, and all those things.
Writing in your head as you do it.
I hear something. I have voice memos and.
Did you find that during the pandemic you connected with artists that don't live here more virtually?
A little bit. It was a lot of fun to see so many things happening in my my Facebook feed. So I said a long time ago, I'm like, I feel bad for anybody who isn't opening their Facebook feed and seeing 1,000 music things happening online, which is really cool, because I got to see a lot of friends as a Michigander. I got to see a lot of friends that I usually see once a year play, and I got to see them sometimes every day, sometimes twice a week. And
like May.
So May Erlewine's still doing stuff. Josh Davis just started actually his Thursday night once. And Chris Dorman, who does family music and is amazing and has a Mr. Chris and Friends, a Vermont PBS show. He was doing kids stuff, so it was or family stuff. A lot of songs that as a family musician in my other spare time.
So you grew up in Detroit area, right?
Yeah, outside of Detroit, the sprawl of Detroit. Yeah.
So what I want to ask you real quick, and then we want to get back to music, and that's. So how long have you been in Colorado, and what got you here? Right as you. Sorry about that.
So Sarah and I came in 2007. Basically, our love story as we met in Ann Arbor after we were all graduated and everything, and then we moved. She was going into the Peace Corps and went to the Republic of Chad. She came home not too long after because there was civil unrest there, and I had moved to Boston at the same time, so we lived in Boston for a couple of years, and then she went to law school at CU Boulder. So we came out to Boulder, lived there for a while, and moved up to Fort Collins. And Arlo was just turned 1, so that was 2013.
So his whole life has been here, basically.
His first 11 months or something were in Boulder, and then he's gotten to enjoy the amazing things that Fort Collins has to offer.
Well, we're glad you're here, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's hear a couple more tunes.
All right.
What do you have for us, by the way?
This one's called "In the Age of the Turning Worm."
Such a great title.
We're going down the wrong way, down the wrong road. Getting long and the tooth is growing old. Say the words of your wise man, they're all false gold. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Gather the beasts that roam the earth, climb on out of the floodplain, built for rebirth. The smell of the rain is in the air. Turns a trodden down meek man, turns wind to gale. I said, whoa, whoa, we've been judged by our worst mistakes. Whoa, in the eyes of the fools and fakes. Whoa, whoa, in the age of a burning world. Whoa, in the age of the turning world. Gather the tools that tell and toil, sharpen the blades and fill the oil. And whose are these hands at arm's length now? No, we have sound mind to tear this down. I said, whoa, whoa, we've been judged by our worst mistakes. Whoa, whoa, in the eyes of the fools and fakes. Whoa, whoa, in the rage of a burning world. Whoa, whoa, in the age of a turning world. In the age of the turning world. In the age of a turning world. In the age of the turning was the age of the turning worm, and then I got to put this sucker on here, little capo action. This next song is called Heavy Sky. you ain't looking too good yourself. 'Cause all in all, we all are the same. Standing in the shadows of guilt and shame. Come on now, help me out. They say deception's the sharpest knife. To live a lie is a lonely life. If you were you, well then who am I? If you were you, who the hell am I? Come on now, help me out. Blame it all on the weather we've made. Heavy sky. Heavy sky. Heavy sky. Come on and shoot me with looks that kill. When you ain't looking too good yourself. I saw the sky with a fiery rain. That what was gone is once what came. Come on now, help me out. Blame it all on the weather we've made. Come on now, help me out. Blame it all on the weather we've made. Yourself and someone thorns and weeds creates the quiet of a reckoning. The owl back and the birds of parade, wrapped in the cloak of a hurricane. Come on now, help me out. Blame it all on the weather we've made. Come on now, help me out. Blame it all on the weather we've made. Heavy sky. Heavy sky. Heavy sky.
Tune called Heavy Sky. I'm still stuck on the title, The Age of the Turning Worm.
Oh, thanks.
What was that title to you? Sorry about that, Sean.
It's all right. I just
The man
need
needs
some
to
water.
drink.
The Age of the Turning Worm. Turning worm, old school English
I think
phrase
of gardening.
for what's that?
I think of gardening.
Yeah, turning worm. Old school English colloquialism, I guess, that just says things are turning over. So yeah, it can be used in gardening.
Yeah, I guess so.
So like things are changing, big
Yeah,
shift. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it's I don't remember exactly when I wrote that one, but just I don't know. It kind of fit together.
Yeah. Well,
I
again,
needed more words, and that kind of fit in there. The Age of the Turning Worm.
and it goes back to the writing. I mean, it really at the core of things for you. I think your album that came out a few years ago, The Worldless Lullabies.
Worldless Lullabies.
Yeah, and then when you released that EP, you released a book of poetry with it.
Yes.
And so you're writing in several genres, and you're still writing poetry too?
I haven't really written any poetry in a while. I did that in about 2004 and 5, I think.
Okay.
I kind of did it all in one giant. I was like out of college. I was a business major, but an English minor. But I had to get another minor in business. They weren't very kind to the artsy people in the business school.
And some of these references are
yeah. So I was like 2 credits away from majoring in English and in business, and with a minor in English overall. Mm-hmm. But I was in a lot of poetry classes, and actually one of multiple poetry classes. Paul Hoffman from Green Sky Bluegrass, I was in a lot of his classes back in the day. Wow. So we used to share short stories, which I've never been able to do very well, and a lot of poetry and stuff back.
So in college, then it was a lot of poetry, and you said Pearl Jam and Motley Crue, and when you were growing up.
Yeah.
What other musical influences? Did you have music in your family?
My cousin, Danny, he still plays, but it was my immediate family. My mom played the piano, but not very much when I was growing up. We always had a piano, a little console, which was nice. And my dad didn't play anything. My uncle works with bands and stuff, like marching bands and stuff. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I don't think there was much in the family. And then my cousin Danny, who I think I got a guitar, and then in like 4th grade his dad was in the military.
When did you get your first guitar?
I got it in 3rd grade, but I started lessons in 4th grade.
Okay, that's pretty young.
And then I went and visited them in Hawaii because my uncle was in the military, so got to hang out there for a couple weeks, and they just played music all the time, and it was a lot of fun, and they still do at gatherings. So that was what kind of got me like moving on, like, oh, this is like, a very social activity, not everything is sitting in your car and listening to music, which up until then, that's kind of what it was, or, sitting in your room, spinning some records on the old brown Fisher-Price record player, and so, he was playing a lot. I don't know if he ever wrote any songs, but then I started down that Pearl Jam path, and then it went straight into, like, Grateful Dead for years and years and years. And Robert Hunter's writing is still gold standard to me.
Yes. No,
so it's like,
I hear you.
Reading my lyrics, I'm like, would Robert Hunter say something like this?
Wow.
But he's just brilliant.
What would Robert do?
And John Barlow as well. But but Robert Hunter just has that. It's the dark wood aesthetic, like fairy tale-ish. Rewriting folk song stuff that just really blew my mind.
The 3 of them, Jerry Garcia, Robert Hunter, and John Barlow, all
just
of them.
Awesome. And Mr. Bob Weir.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. Who's still kicking it.
Dead
slower and slower every year, but but it's still awesome.
Yes.
I went there, and then it just spread out into everywhere, indie. So some of these songs, like the first Lonely, Lost, and Starved was I wrote during a phase of listening to like a lot of Modest Mouse and indie rock like that, Death Cab for Cutie, and then after I wrote it, I was like, this sounds more like David Bowie, and I love David Bowie, but it's never been in my listen to him all the time. So it's kind of funny how that turned out. But
you just channeled him.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple more questions, but let's hear some more music first.
All right, let me make sure I turn my knob up this time. All of a sudden I was like, what happened? All right, here we go. This one's called Boy Stargazer. So. Breathe the sun and breathe the moon. Be a weight, be a balloon. Thoughts are hawks and deeds are doves overhead. Soothe a broken-hearted friend, and then another and again. Be a giver who gives all but feels unwanted. Boy, stargazer. Boy, stargazer. Boy, stargazer. the vast expanse of time. Oh, stargazer, oh, stargazer, oh, stargazer. Boy, you'll find out how far you can fly. Boy, you'll find how far you can fall. Boy, you'll find who'll help you climb. Boy, stargazer, boy, stargazer, oh, stargazer.
Boy, Stargazer. I want to remind people we're listening to the music of TMULE. And this is produced by KRFC 88.9 FM in the Ginger and Baker studio. Our sponsor is the Music District, and Public Media, Fort Collins Public Media is doing the videotaping. So it's all good. Live at Lunch is the program you're listening to. I'm Denny LaRue. Thanks for being here with us. We're going to get to some music. Boy, Stargazer makes me think of Arlo, your son.
Yeah.
And didn't you have this, I recall this thing where you guys had a challenge you gave yourselves, a song a day or a song a week?
A song a week. We were doing...
When he was like 4?
Yeah, for years. We have almost, it's called Tiny Mule Songs, or Tiny Mule.
Tiny Mule.
And just a little project that we did. It started with just a fun Facebook video for friends and family. And then he wanted to do it again the next week. And then, it was, we'd learn about a song a week. We wrote a bunch of songs together. And let's see, we did, I think it's like around 290 songs are on YouTube and Facebook. So those are available, and they're just family songs, but also includes, the Beatles and Bob Marley and all sorts of stuff, ridiculous things that we wrote, that some of them are really ridiculous. We wrote a lot of Christmas songs. We have like 11 Halloween songs, which is pretty awesome. I need to put together a Halloween album. But yeah, there's a lot of content under Tiny Mule Songs on the
Tiny
interwebs.
Mule.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
T-Mule and Tiny Mule.
Yeah.
And one last question before we go back to music then. Arlo's 11 now. Is he still into music?
He's 9.
Excuse me, 9.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
He is. He's, we just haven't, we got busy in general, and even through the pandemic, there is a lot to try to keep up with a song a week. He says he wants to restart it. He's at drum lessons. He's taking drum lessons.
Okay.
He plays a little bit of ukulele. He sings. He's got a DJ set up, a digital DJ set up. So we're going to get him a lesson starting out on that. And yeah, he likes to have dance parties in his room. And
cool.
But yeah, he'll play anything you hand to him.
When I said 11 by mistake, you were like, yikes, nobody told me.
Not so fast.
Okay, so what do we have up next for you?
I was going to do Rust Buckle.
Okay.
Rust Buckle Roll Away here.
Okay.
Raised on guitar, licks the tape, player cracked and hissed on a fading radio, the static sound of snow. Catalog it all, hang your records on the wall, cartridges and crates, the vinyl radiates, and let it roll away. Rust Buckle roll away. Not electric daydream, finger picking quietly, pothole tire blows, the murder mitten froze. Gas guzzling stereo and blown out speaker undertow, the highway's half alive, don't grip the wheel too tight and let it roll away. Rust buckle roll away. Rust buckle roll away. Roll away. Hubcaps at bus stops, the radiator clicked and popped with the rhythm of a road, a pothole tire blow. Socket wrench and C-clamp, walking up an exit ramp, song inside your head, the payphone's always dead, now let it roll. Rust buckle roll away. Rust buckle roll
You're listening to TMULE, also known as Sean Lamborn, and Rust Buckle Roll Away. Some great songs, Sean. We're getting close to the end of Live at Lunch today. A few more minutes, time for a couple more songs. And I want to ask you, besides April 15th at the Magic Rat with Fox Feather, that's your next really planned gig.
Yep.
What do you see now that things are opening up? What are you hoping for?
Well, I sent out a handful of emails yesterday, so I usually try to stick to a couple a month just so I can be with family and stuff. A couple shows a month around Fort Collins, Boulder, Denver. Kind of always got my feelers out looking for something fun to play. And other than that, one of these days I'm going to record some more. I have all this stuff at home, but
Great.
just need time. And and actually just playing here today has been a huge help getting me set up for get these songs more in shape. Kind of, I'm a deadline person sometimes with songwriting, and so it'll linger. I have to compress it and get it ready and put it in a little package. Yeah, and so this was kind of perfect to try out a bunch of stuff. Some of it's really old, but I haven't played in a while, and some of it's pretty much brand new.
So where do you think you're going with, how do you feel where you're going with your music these days in terms of the writing and
picking up electric guitar, it had been a long time since I played electric guitar with the band sometimes. But yeah, it's, I wanted to try to incorporate, more of the alt rock influences and just a little heavier, grittier, because a lot of the stuff I've played over the years is pretty rockin' for acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And so this kind of gives me more, texture and stuff. So I'm trying to just figure out how to use this newer setup I got and incorporate electric and hopefully go to shows with an electric and an acoustic and be able to play a little, because I'm still writing some super country kind of tunes. And then, like Neil Young goes from Crazy Horse to nice, quiet little back porch love songs, and so I love trying to incorporate this heavier side as well. But I still got old timey country tunes that are in my brain or written down somewhere, and just sifting through all the words and the voice memos and stuff, and kind of bring it together somehow. Yeah.
You got a beautiful voice, a wonderful voice. So let's hear one more tune, and then I want to say some thank yous, and then we'll be moving on out.
That's great.
I Cannot Float, is that the next? Yeah.
So this one is, I try to write sorry, I'm going to tune at the same time and talk. I try to write a anniversary song for my wife every year. I've been fairly successful at it. Sometimes it's harder, but the deadline helps, as I was just saying.
It's pretty nice.
So this is one of them. I can't remember what year it was, but a few years ago. But I have to figure that out because she said for this anniversary she wants me to record all of them. So this one's one of them I wrote probably like 2 years ago, I think, called I Cannot Float.
What a great anniversary song, Sean, for your wife. I Cannot Float Without You.
Yeah.
And I do want to say thanks to a few people. Thank you for listening, and thank you to the Music District here in the heart of Fort Collins. And Live at Lunch is produced by KRFC 88.9 FM, produced in the Ginger and Baker studio. Thanks to our production team today, of course, Andy Howe, KRFC, and from Fort Collins Public Media, Chris, Eric, and Red. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening, and thank you for the music, Sean. And if you want to appear like Sean on Live at Lunch, like TMULE, just get a hold of our music director, David, at krfcfm.org, and he can get you set up. Thanks for all the great music.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, guys. This is awesome.
Yeah. And you're going to take us out with one that, you got this one last one.
Little baby song. This is an old-timey tune.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the title, I went, is that the same on Cloudy Day? Yeah, great.
It's a good one. Oh, I'm gonna change this. Hold on, I'm going to the G. Woo! Watch that, guys.
We would do a
Oh, they tell me of a home far beyond the sky. Oh, they tell me of a home that's far away. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds lie. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of cloudless skies. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds lie. Oh, they tell me of an uncloudy day.
This has been Live at Lunch from KRFC 88.9 FM, radio from Colorado, for Colorado, and the world. Live at Lunch is supported by the Music District, a music-centric gathering place to cultivate talents, support professional development, and encourage connections. Live at Lunch shows are available to view the following week at krfcfm.org. Live at Lunch's executive producer is David Vacek. If you'd like to appear on Live at Lunch, contact David via email at david@krfcfm.org.